Hello everyone, my name is Aaron Vissia and you are watching Upfront, broadcasting from the beautiful Alberni Valley. Today my guest is Zoran Knezevic. He is the CEO of the Port Alberni Harbour Commission. So Zoran, tell me, this is the first time we've met and I don't know a lot about you myself, so I'd love to hear a bit about your story, some of your background, maybe some of your education and why you're in the position you are, and what brought you to Port Alberni.
It's a long story.
We're listening.
As I mentioned to you earlier off the camera, born and raised in former Yugoslavia. Right now, after the country split up in 90s, actually I was born and raised in a small country called Montenegro. Grew up there and went to school, graduated from the Maritime University, sailed on various ships, get my master's ticket, and in 92, almost 25 years now, immigrated to Canada. As I worked on the ships, I worked in the ports. So I worked in Port of Montreal for about 5 years there. Then moved to Vancouver, worked there for 15 years in ports, terminal operation, containers, trucking, tugboats, being in the shipping industry all my life. And there was an opportunity almost 5 years back now for the position of the CEO of the Port Authority here in Port Alberni. And living in Lower Mainland for 15 years prior to that, and working in industry, I realized that the Port Alberni has a lot of potential, especially in marine sector, being open to Pacific Ocean, being in the middle of or in the heart of Vancouver Island. I realized there was an opportunity for that port to grow, and it was a really nice position for myself to kind of maximize, or I guess get the most out of my experience in one role, and that's why I decided to move to Port Alberni, because I see a great opportunity for the community as well as for myself. So since we moved, my family and I, wife and 3 kids, and now mom lives with us. So I have a 22-year-old just graduated University in Victoria. So she was on the island at the time, or moved to the island at the time.
Nice.
So that was helpful as well, and another extra thing for us to move. And I have 2 little ones. They are 8 years old. So family really loved or got to love Port Alberni, a small community. I grew up, believe it or not, in a very similar town back home in Montenegro. My wife as well, and the main thing in my hometown was actually a pulp mill, as it is here in Catalyst. A very similar town, a little bit bigger. So we felt like at home, and kids love it. And it's a really nice community with a lot of activities. And I always tell story with my friends in Lower Mainland. I still do my taxes in Lower Mainland, and my accountant, whom I worked for a number of years. So she checks it out. She says, "Zoran, your kids are going to so many activities, and it costs you so little. If I had to put," and she has same age kids as mine, "if I had to put my 2 in the activities here, it'll cost me tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, you're paying a fraction of that." So that even more validates what Alberni Valley has to offer, and Alberni itself is the quality of life. It's 5 or 10 minutes commute to work. My commute in Lower Mainland was an hour and a half. So I really enjoy that pace, and I really enjoy the opportunity that I can go home in 10 minutes and in 20 or half an hour be with my kids on the water and fishing and doing other stuff.
Well, that's certainly a great testament to raising kids in the Alberni Valley. So thanks for that, and we're happy to have you here. It's so nice that you actually joined us on the show today. So we're going to get into the business part of this now and ask some of the funner questions. And one of the things that we're hearing lots about and that you're very involved in is the Timber Biotech. We've heard some controversy about it and different things. Can you tell us, just give us a real quick summary of where it's at and what's happening with it?
So where Timber is right now, it's a project that started a couple of years ago, almost 3 years now. And it's essentially a facility to process leftover wood debris and create a useful product, activated carbon, out of it. It was a developed project in public eye from the onset. And at one point there were some concerns that they are polluting the community as they are processing the wood. We responded to a community's concern and involved a number of stakeholders in the community and outside. Like, for example, British Columbia Ministry of Environment and Vancouver Island Health and so on and so forth. They're professionals. And we also asked them, what do you think we should do? And the agreement was that as a group we decided that we should hire an environmental consultant agency to do the assessment of the project as a whole. And we hired the top or the best in the industry, Golden Associate. They came and did a testing, they did the assessment, they produced a report. They found some, I guess, improvements needed to be done. So the test was done in December, I believe, or November, sorry, November. And now the proponent Timber is implementing those improvements and recommendations. And we expect them to be completed fairly soon. And once they're completed, we'll issue them a license of operation.
And the actual product that they're manufacturing is?
So it's activated carbon. It's essentially a carbon that you use in Brita filters or the carbon that is used to filter liquids and air as well too. Essentially a very useful product. So what the benefit and value of that project that we see, they will be essentially taking or bringing out of the forest the wood that would be otherwise burnt or left to rot. So they're essentially using stuff that is going to pollute the environment, using that and creating a product in a controlled environment that is going to create jobs and also a product here in Alberni Valley for its economic growth.
Okay. Obviously, jobs is something we definitely want to see more of in the Alberni Valley. Speaking of jobs, and evident on the minds of everybody here in the valley is raw logs leaving the inlet. I know you're not in the forest industry, you're taking care of the harbor, but obviously you must have some opinion on all these logs leaving. There's guys I've talked to that have been in the mills for 20, 30 years and they're either pushing a broom or they're laid off. What do you see maybe changing, or from your perspective, what can we do as a municipality to make things happen for citizens of the valley and keep our jobs here?
I would say I am, I shouldn't say biggest advocate, but I would be also a biggest supporter and advocate of not exporting raw logs. I think raw log export is something that we shouldn't do, and we should try to add value to our product or to our resource as much as possible.
Such as byproducts like canned timber.
Canned timber, furniture, veneer, anything. I mean, we recently looked at the wood manufacturing facilities on the island, and there is dozens and dozens of wood manufacturing facilities, from producing pallets, from veneer, from furniture, from all kinds of different products. And we, as a society, have to move away from exporting raw resource as much as we do. How do we do that? I think it's not necessarily just on a community level. I think the government should and needs to get involved. And essentially facilitate development of manufacturing facilities and bringing ideas forward. So we reduce the export of raw logs. Whether we'll ever stop it, I don't know. From my knowledge and talking to forestry companies, it's a necessity that we have to export some of the logs because they're in the way of the log that they needed for their mill. And while as long as the market needs it, I guess it's going to happen. But I would essentially always support it and try to promote value added.
Yeah.
Rather than,
To the best of my knowledge, the reason they are leaving is because the owners of the log are getting twice the price for exporting than they do by keeping them here. How do we stop that? Like, how do we, how can the government intervene and make it more fair?
And I may be or I may have limited knowledge on this, but the process in place is that everybody or anybody can block the raw log before it leaves, and every raw log that gets cut has to be kept for 6 weeks, I believe, in BC before it's exported. So anybody, whoever needs the raw log, can block it. So I think the process is in place for that. Whether people do it or not, that's a different story.
So if we stop exporting, does that not decrease the revenue to the Port Authority?
It will decrease the revenue if you stop exporting raw logs, but not that much, because our Port Authority, even though we are small, we are fairly diverse. Beside shipping that we have, we also manage marinas. We 4 marinas we manage a campground. We have a number of other facilities that like canned timber, like raw spirit, frozen fish. Like we are working with WCMRC, West Coast Marine Response Corporation, to create a center here. We developed tie landing and Centennial Pier, and we are trying to expand and develop a new clientele there. So Port Authority will survive if the raw log export stops tomorrow. It will have some impact on us, but it will not close the port.
Yeah, excellent. So you mentioned tie landing. That kind of leads me to the question of the relationship between the Port Authority and the city. And there's been numerous very visible projects. One which we're still waiting to see what happens with, like Clutha Haven. You got tie landing, Canal Beach. What's the relationship between you and the city? How is it working, and is it important?
I think it's very important, and I think our relationship is great. And for the time that I have been here, I think the city and port have worked really well together. And as a result of that, I strongly believe that we have such a nice project like Canal Beach, which was developed in partnership with Port Authority and the industry as well, and the city. Like tie landing as well, city supported it, and Centennial Pier, city supported it to a small degree, and Clutha Haven, city supports to a degree. So it's a really strong partnership or a working relationship that we have with the city. I really salute a mayor and the city staff, how they are actively promoting the community. Mayor has monthly mayor's breakfast where he brings all the industry, major industry stakeholders, and we talk about the possibilities of Port Alberni. And the city is very much promoting community. The Economic Development Department, especially Pat Deakin, I mean, that guy works tirelessly. And Mayor as well is support of our projects and where we move forward. So jointly, we are exposing the community far greater than if we were working independently.
Sounds exciting. Our team went out on the street and we started talking to some people and asking them if they might have some questions for you. So I'd like you to have a look at this and listen to that first question.
We've been residents of Port Alberni for about 7 years now. We have a sailboat down at the fisheries dock. Would love to be able to haul it out, either a travelways or a crane or some sort of facilities for recreational boaters that would like to work on their own boats. We're a marine town here. We've got all kinds of industrial facilities. Why don't we have that? Thanks.
A great question. How do we get our sailboats out of the water?
So right now, Canadian Alberni Engineering has a marine way to get the boat out. Currently we are planning actually, and as you may know, Canadian Alberni Engineering purchased part of the lot A right adjacent to Canal Beach, and they are planning to build a ship repair yard facility in that area, which will include a travel lift. So there are plans for it right now. How soon that will happen, it depends how soon we can, how soon Canadian Alberni Engineering can secure the funding. We are also trying to help them as well if we can get some funding from federal government for that project.
Sounds good. Want to talk about fishing maybe for a sec?
Fishing is, I love fishing.
Again, I know, yeah, you said you fished earlier on, and I know you're not fisheries, but rumor has it around town right now that there may not be a sockeye season this year. That would have a big impact on a lot of local fishermen. What is your take on that? How would it affect the Harbour Commission?
It's unfortunate to hear that we may not have it because we, being a fishing capital of Canada or whatever,
The world, let's go with that.
the world that we have, it is certainly going to have an effect on us. It's going to have an effect on a business in our marinas and in our campground at China Creek as well. And we have actually seen some results of that already. We had the season at the beginning of the year fully booked, almost fully booked, but right now people are canceling with the news that the salmon or fishing may not. It may be very limited or may not even happen. So it's definitely going to have an impact. But at the same time, it gives us a chance and opportunity for us to diversify and promote Alberni Inlet for everything else that it has to offer, of the beauty of just sailing down the Canal Beach and enjoying the beaches and views and hiking. And in our China Creek marina and a campground, that's a perfect location to go and enjoy and just relax. And you don't need necessarily as much fishing. So trying for us to promote tourism in absence of.
Yeah, and obviously it's done for enhancement and preservation of the stock and to keep future fishing going.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And it must be a reason.
Always, absolutely. So the Port Authority isn't actually accountable to the citizens of the Alberni Valley because your mandate is, you're federally legislated, you work under the umbrella of the federal government. How do you find the balance between recreational and industrial, the different things we're talking about? How do you make that all harmonize?
Working with the city and having a good relationship with the city, it really helps us sort of balance our impact on the community. You're absolutely right. We are responsible to a federal crown, and we are a little bit different governed than the city, for example. We have a board of directors, but it's a governance board. So our governance board essentially will set a main framework and have a direction of the port which way we want to go, but it's up to staff and myself to execute that and move forward. And our mandate is to facilitate economic growth, but also to facilitate economic growth in harmony with the region that we operate in. So with the projects and how we are set up and the activities and connections with the city, I find it fairly easy, to be honest with you, to balance the social aspect versus industrial aspect. And we have proven that in a number of our projects that we have done, through Thai Landing, through Centennial Pier, to Cludas in Canal Beach, and kiteboarding facilities and many other things that we do, because we have an opportunity. We are not for essentially not-for-profit organization. So, however, also at the same time we are financially self-sustained. So we don't get any funding from federal government or anybody else for that matter. We actually pay a 2% federal stipend to federal government. We pay 50% to provincial government on anything that we generate in the inlet, and we also contribute to the city through city accord agreement that we have. So I was saying that not for profit, we have to be also careful how and how much money we spend on all different projects, whether they're social or industrial. So at one point we have to kind of look also to create some revenue for ourselves, so it keeps us alive. But also we want to do the social component as well, which I'm really glad, especially for the community that we have here, and there is a lot of opportunity to do that. So
There's definitely enough people here to support and want to see good things happen in this valley, because you know how beautiful it is here. So,
yes,
let's talk about some potentially exciting and potentially good news that could happen for the valley, and that's the LNG project and the, what is it called, the TransLink?
transshipment.
Thank you, transshipment. Let's expand on that a bit.
So LNG, Steelhead and LNG export facility, we are very proud to say that we have been an integral part of attracting LNG Steelhead to the region. So a few years back, we started promoting Port Alberni, and especially when BC and as you remember a few years back, the LNG was kind of a thing for the West Coast, and we also promoted Port Alberni as a potential export facility. Went on a couple of trade missions with Premier, and were involved in the community, and were able to attract LNG Steelhead to come and see Port Alberni, and they came a few times. We showed them around, and they actually liked the Alberni Inlet. So at the time, we also developed a protocol agreement with Huet First Nation. So essentially, we brought two parties together, LNG Steelhead and Huet First Nation, and they developed an opportunity development agreement. And right now, as you may know, Huet First Nation has voted, or Huet Nation has voted in support of the project overwhelmingly, and LNG Steelhead is expecting to make a decision for the final investment by 2019, which will be a great opportunity for Port Alberni. I mean, bringing a pipeline to the island will create a lot of jobs, and creating an export facility for the down inlet will create also lots of full-time jobs. And a support industry for that will be a great addition to our valley in a number of jobs. So we are happy to say that we have been an integral part of attracting LNG Steelhead here to Alberni Valley.
There is lots of naysayers, and obviously those who are opposed to the project. What is the likelihood of it actually happening? I know it's years away, but
I really can't tell at this point. I mean, there is a number of projects in BC that LNG projects in BC that are kind of in the books or approved. The likelihood of them happening, all of them happening, it's very minimal, if non-existent. But how many will happen, your guess is as good as mine. Through our exposure and knowledge and talking to the LNG companies, Port Alberni is actually a very good location for an LNG export facility for a number of reasons. Proximity to the Asia, open water, especially for the down inlet. Proximity to the Asia, open water, support of the community on the island, ice-free ports. So it has a lot of benefits, even though the pipeline to the island is a little bit longer, but the benefits outweigh the cost. And a couple of proponents we talked to actually favor Port Alberni. Is it going to happen? It depends on the global energy demand, and if China continues to move away from the coal-burning power-producing factories or plants, and if they continue doing that, their energy requirements are going to be significant, and the project may be profitable at that point. However, I wouldn't be able to speculate. I would love to see it. There's a good potential. Is it going to happen or not? Who knows?
Transshipment hub, is that more likely?
The other project, a transshipment hub, is much dearer to my heart because it comes from my. It's really a culmination, as I would like to call it, of my experience that I had in the marine transportation business. is it going to happen? I think it's going to happen. Whether it is going to happen here, whether it's going to happen somewhere else, but a transshipment hub of the kind is going to happen on the West Coast. Because if we are going to continue to have a growth as it is right now, the current infrastructure in Lower Mainland and in Seattle and Puget Sound will not be able to sustain and support the growth. We'll have to create a hub of a large enough hub so we can keep the gateway fluid and open so we can move the goods. So if you ask me, is it going to happen? I'm almost certain that it will. How soon and where, that's a different story.
Yet to be determined.
Yes.
Well, you know what? I feel like this half hour went very quickly. I feel like there's more I want to talk to you about. I know there's more people from the street would have questions for you, but I just want to thank you very much for coming on the show today, and I really enjoyed the information. We'll get you back sometime in the future and chat about the things that are going to happen, hopefully.
Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
So you've been watching Up Front. I'm Aaron Vissia. You've been listening to Zoran from the Port Alberni Port Authority. You're the CEO. Thank you again for coming. If you're interested or you have something to say, find a way to get involved. I'm Aaron Vissia for Shaw TV.